Since 2003, this is the Sports Source, East Tennessee's #1 sports talk show.
Brought to you by Junk Be Gone and the Garza Law Firm.
With your host, John Pennington. The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Sports Source. Happy to have you with us today. Always appreciate you joining in and watching us. Thanks for the great ratings as of late. Always appreciated. We have Vol football to talk about. They had their final major scrimmage of spring yesterday. The orange and white game is the only thing left. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the fact that Rick Barnes, depending on how you look at it, he's got the Tennessee basketball program walking in as high cotton as it's ever walked in, unless you look at it from another way. We'll debate which way is the best way to look at it, and then we'll even have a segment of baseball after that big win yesterday. So let's get into today's show. First segment of this program brought to you by Junk Be Gone, a broken down end table, an old amplifier, several old speakers that I no longer use. All will be deposited in a big Junk Be Gone dumpster in my driveway in the coming weeks. Now I've invited people just to come by and grab stuff out of my driveway, haven't I? Junk Be Gone puts that dumpster in front of my house once a year, basically. It's spring cleaning. I just get rid of anything I have. If I haven't used it in a year, it's like, well, I don't need that. So it goes. But it just makes your life so much easier. You toss the stuff you no longer use, toss the stuff you've cleaned out into the dumpster. They come pick it up, drive it off. You don't have to fool with it. Make spring cleaning easy. Junk Be Gone, junkbegone.biz to learn more. All right, well, let's welcome in the first wave of panelists we have today. From WNML, we have Josh Ward. You can hear him noon to 3 every day, Monday through Friday. Well, Monday through Friday. Can't hear you Saturday and Sunday from noon to 3, but Josh Ward. Also on WNML, following Josh Ward, we have Jimmy Himes. You can hear him from 3 to 7 Monday through Friday, thanks to the WNML boys. And then right down there we have Will Overstreet, VFL and former NFL star. We appreciate you for being here, Will. Thanks. Let's talk. I've had a couple people email saying, why aren't you talking about the positives of spring? There aren't a lot. But I thought, you know what? As we wind down, let's take a look. Since no one was invited into the scrimmage yesterday, all we can go by are what the coaches are saying. So let's take some of the guys on offense and some of the guys on defense in the next segment who have been praised yesterday and this week for the work they've been doing. I'll just throw out a name. You guys tell me what you're thinking about that player, about the importance of the position, how much they're needed, whether or not you buy what you're hearing, or if you're hearing something different, et cetera, et cetera. So let's talk offense here in this first segment. And we'll start with the main position everyone's talking about. That's quarterback. There are a lot of people who think that the guy with the highest upside is Brian Maurer, but that's undercut because he has a tendency to make mistakes. It seems that there are folks who believe that Hendon Hooker, who transferred in from Virginia Tech, would be the guy if he started a game tomorrow because he's the safe bet. We discussed this a little last week. Do they go with the safe choice or do they go with somebody who's got more upside? But one of the things Heupel said this week was that his quarterbacks have made light years worth of improvement in terms of operating the offense. Mm-hmm. Okay, have you heard what you wanted to hear regarding these quarterbacks this spring? Are you hearing the right things and are you buying what you're hearing? Josh?
I'm hearing good things from Tennessee's coaches, and I say coaches plural because assistants have met with the media, but when Josh Heupel, again after the scrimmage on Saturday, he talked positively, as John's talking about the development, the progress, while also saying, hey, we're not where we need to be quite yet, which we shouldn't be. So I think if you're a fan, you're looking for the positives, you're going to find them from the coaching staff. I would still keep expectations within reach. They shouldn't get out of hand based on things that aren't even being seen behind the scenes in the spring. But in terms of the quarterback play, I expect it to be better, and I expect it to improve because of the coaches. And you have some talented guys. These three players in practice are really talented players.
The thing that I like about what the coaches have said are these quarterbacks are picking up the offense. And that's a really good sign because they need to. Now, we'll say this also, kind of to Josh's point. I think this coaching staff in general is saying a lot of positive things because I think they realize this is a team, a program that's been beat up for years, and they need to lift the spirits of these guys. So am I buying in completely? Not yet. Of course, I don't have reason yet to not buy in with this staff, but I think a little bit of that is you need to take it with a grain of salt. But I do like the fact that they're talking about the progress these quarterbacks have made. Still curious that Caden Salter's not been out there. Josh Heupel had said he was optimistic he would be out there before the end of spring. Well, we're almost to the end of spring, and he's still not out there. But But I do think that I do like the fact that these quarterbacks, according to the coaches, are picking up the offense, which is very much a key in trying to execute it.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, they're trying to pick up the offense. That's good. That's great to hear that they're learning the system. But as we know, they were also on the lookout for a fourth quarterback, right? They wanted to find somebody else in the transfer portal. So it does tell you something. Yes, these guys are learning it. Yes, do they have somebody they can put out in the field and make some plays? But are they fully satisfied that this is the crew that you're going to go to war with and win a lot of games with? I doubt it.
We talked a little last week about two running backs who've been getting a lot of praise, and they got more praise this week, and that is Jabari Small and then D. Beckwith, who's anything but small at 6'5". He's going to challenge Jalen Hurd for the tallest running back in UT football history. Your thoughts on those guys getting as consistent praise? D. Beckwith was not a guy that I expected to hear get this much praise at the running back spot this spring. So that one's a little bit of a surprise. Jabari Small, I think people were hopeful that he would be a guy that would step up. Anything there on those guys' names, anything stand out to you? Beckwith, Small.
Yeah, what they've said about Beckwith, when I watched the open practice the previous Saturday, maybe this is my eyesight, he didn't look like a 6'5" running back, which is a good sign for him. That means he's playing better with his pad leverage. He's getting down. He was hard to tackle. He showed pretty good speed. The first guy wasn't bringing him down. I think that's a really good sign for this guy. There have been very few 6'5" running backs in this league. You mentioned Jalen Hurd. There was Brandon Jacobs at Auburn that was a 6'4" guy. Hadn't been a lot of them, but I think what Beckwith has done, he also could be that power guy, that short yardage back that I think that they have missed in recent years.
I think it's the most important position to tell how this season's going to go, because if you have one of those guys as an all-SEC player, for instance, that means the offensive passing game was working as well, because they were opening up gaps, and now you've got a running back that's making a lot of yards. So if you want to judge this season, it's probably going to go how one of these guys really produces, because if they're producing at a high level, that means probably the other pieces of this offense are working, and you're scoring a lot of points. If you're not able to get one of these running backs to offset in the SEC this fun and gun thing, you're going to have people figure it out, and they're going to be able to play you, and you're not going to be the high-power offense that you need.
Well, especially when you look back through his numbers over his career, wherever Josh Heupel has been, the run game has been, it's not people are expecting this to be the air raid that Mike Leach runs. You're going to be disappointed because there's a lot of the run game in this. Josh, let me move on to a wide receiver that got praised this week. Well, actually, people have been talking about Walker Merrill early on. You've had players comment on the fact that this is a guy who's just already one of the best route runners on the team. Josh Heupel this week, and we're going to know how much, we're going to have to learn as we get to know Josh Heupel how much Heupel he puts on things, how much hype does he put on things. But he said Walker Merrill, quote, is going to be a special player as his career continues to go on. Okay, when you say a coach saying this is going to be a special player, that's a pretty big statement. Now, it may turn out that Josh Heupel uses that the way somebody else says good. We don't know yet, but that's high praise for a freshman receiver.
It really is, and I think what would make you feel better there is that position has talent. Now, a lot of what we talk about at receiver, or if we go back to running back, it's potential, and you can say, okay, well, that creates excitement. That also creates concern because it hasn't been proven on the field. But in this stage, in the spring, when you hear a freshman's come in and immediately made an impact, when you know that Jalen Hyatt's a talented player and Jimmy Callaway has potential and Velus Jones is coming back, now it feels like you're talking about legitimate depth in an offense again where you expect production. So I think Walker Merrill and just the overall receiver position is something that's creating hope that Tennessee can maybe get started more quickly on offense.
Yeah, and I think the big point that you touched on is the fact that you have so many guys that came in here with all kinds of accolades and there was a lot of hype surrounding them, and yet we're talking about Walker Merrill here. So,
yeah, and you want that to create real competition because while the rising second-year class, they have to feel excited about their opportunity. If a freshman comes in and is getting real playing time, that should push them. All
right, when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the defensive comments that the coaches have made about the defense. I guess the defensive comments. They weren't defensive at all. They were full of praise. But we'll also cover Tennessee football recruiting a little later. We'll look at Tennessee basketball recruiting. We've got a lot to come on this show. Come on back on the Sports Source.